She kneels in front of the bowl and dips her hand into it, crushing a fistful of squishy red meat between her fingers. She brings the raw meat to her mouth. I watch her eat it? Yeah, I guess so. She covers her mouth with the back of her hand and gags, then looks at me. Alright guys, we're back with Dicentra. Let's keep the story going. Where's my mouse? So annoying. Okie doke guys, we're back with Dicentra. I actually started recording already, but it was messed up, so now I have to reread everything I read. So, lovely. Like I said, this is part 2, guys. If you haven't seen part 1, you're gonna be missing out. Alright, let's go. On the floor in front of me is a kaleidoscope of lights created by the morning sun, a stark contrast to the dark and dreary setting I was previously confined to. Maybe I dreamed it all in a feverish haze. I check on the gauze around my arm, it's still there. A weight around my neck brings me back into focus. A collar is secured around my throat. Attached to it is a very long, heavy chain that leads to the leg of a large wardrobe in the corner of the room. The bedroom. I take in my latest cage. There is no longer venomous bars to keep me, but the state of confinement has not changed. My eyes move from the rainbows on the floor to the line of the chain restraining me, then to the rest of the room. I look at the windows and find swirling murals and expressive paintings of various creatures and monsters. The sun behind them illuminates the floor with speckles of color like a stained glass window. Past the frame of the window, the drawings continue in nonsensical. I can't speak, guys, okay? Less art decorates the walls, but shelves of cracked plant pots and hanging tangles of ivy take their place. Dirty cups and bowls sit forgotten in the dark corner. I briefly note 2 shallow dishes near where I lay. They look like they would be used by a pet. Judging from the surprising lack of grime under them, it hasn't been that long since they were last used. Dusty books and crumpled parchment litter the floorboards. Taking up half of the room is a canopied bed. Dark curtains are tightly pulled together, preventing me from seeing inside. The sound of scratching captures my attention. I drag my gaze past the pile of books. There, sitting on a raggedy blanket, hunched over, scribbling over the print in a book, is Dove. She gnaws on her lip and pinches her brows. I can hear her whimpering something to herself. No, no, no. That won't work. I slowly lift myself off the floor, cringing at the sound of clanking chains following my movement. Oh, cringing. Why did I say cringing? Cringing at the sound of clanking chains following my movement. Dove makes no move, acknowledging my presence, so I continue approaching her. When I'm closer to her back, I'm able to get a better look at what she's furiously writing. Scribbles of occult symbols make the words on the page completely ineligible. I swallow a lump in my throat. The collar around my neck feels very heavy right now. Rip. Dove suddenly tears a page out from the book. The jarring sound makes me jump and I slam into a tower of books, sending it toppling to the floor. Dread weighs heavily on me. I look back at Dove. She's now staring at me with wide eyes. "You're awake?" I release a small yelp and stare at her dumbfounded. She's brighter. Or maybe it's the luminous light filtering through the bedroom window. Something about it paints her in a rose-tinted lens that makes her wariness waver. That feeling instantly vanishes when she gets up and rushes towards me. I run away as fast as my legs allow me, but my air supply is abruptly cut off, and I'm thrown off my feet. A sharp howl is pulled from my throat. I look behind me and see that the chain on my collar is pulled taut. I had reached its limit. I then see Dove standing in the spot I had bolted from. Her gaze creeps along the chain, making its way to my crumpled form. I see blue eyes stare into mine, and I shudder. It feels like she could unravel me through sight alone. She looks at me like she knows. Then she perks up, snapping the tension away. Oh, right, you're probably starving. The others were also skittish when they had empty bellies. Others. Her voice trails off as though she's become lost in thought. She starts weaving through the mess of book piles to reach the bedroom door. Wait here. I don't have much of a choice. Yeah, I was about to say I can't move. Dove returns with a bread roll, and a bowl. She sets the bowl down a couple feet in front of me and retreats back to chew on her own food. I tentatively approach it. The bread smells like heaven. I lick my lips on instinct. It must have been ages since I last ate because I watch her tear chunks from it and mark every little crumb falling onto her white dress with yearning. I look down at the bowl she left for me. The sight of red fleshy chunks greets me. Raw meat. She gave me a bowl of raw meat. I can't eat this. Well, maybe I could. But the idea of it has nausea coursing through me. I stare at the fresh blood pooling at the bottom of the bowl. Then I glance over at the bread, then back down to the bowl, feeling confounded. My stomach growls. I can feel saliva start to drip down the side of my mouth. I can't do it. Are you gonna let it go to waste? Ooh. Dove's voice comes from right above me, and fear flutters in my stomach. Okay then. My eyes snap up. Dove reaches for me and I flinch, scattering away. She kneels in front of the bowl and dips her hand into it, crushing a fistful of squishy red meat between her fingers. She brings the raw meat to her mouth. I watch her eat it? Yeah, I guess so. Bile rises in my throat as I watch her chew through the raw flesh and swallow it with a sickly gulp. She covers her mouth with the back of her hand and gags, then looks at me. She smiles at me, her teeth stained in a glistening red. What a horrible taste. A thin stream of blood falls from the corner of her mouth. I suppose you'd like something a little more appetizing. She gags again, then runs out of the room. I hear the sound of her retching from another room. Dove returns with a new bowl of what looks like stew. I inspect it thoroughly, checking for insects or anything inedible. When I surmise that there's nothing of the sort, I dig in greedily. My eyes begin to sting after the first couple of bites. The stew is so bland. It makes me yearn for my grandmother's cooking so badly. From the corner of my eye, I can see Dove watching me like a hawk. Like all it'll take is a single blink for me to disappear. If only I could. As I finish eating the stew, a soft bettling captures my attention. I look back to see my tail wagging against the floor. I feel myself shrink with embarrassment. I immediately cease its movement, but not before Dove takes notice. Looks like your energy has returned. Her eyes move to my arm. Does it still hurt? I stare at Dove, then hesitantly put my weight on my wrapped up arm. The sharp pain is mostly gone, but a dull ache still remains. If the opportunity for me to run away came, I could probably do it, but not without difficulty. I make a frustrated whine. Dove tilts her head at me, considering my reply. She approaches me again, slowly this time. I hold my breath as she comes close, her hands hovering near the collar around my neck. I'm suddenly hyper-aware of how quiet it is. There's no drum of rain or crack of thunder to be heard from the outside. Hope dares to grow inside my racing heart. Will you hurt me if I take it off? I answer her. I shake my head slightly. Dev gives me a curious look. Oh, is she scared? Her hands hover for a short moment, then she nods. The weight of the collar lifts off my shoulders, then I bolt. My swift escape shoves Dove aside. I barely see her get thrown to the floor as I make for the open bedroom door. Dove makes a panic noise behind me. It fades out in my rush to leave her behind. And I'm back into the hallway where the horrors began. Oh my god. Dang, this music's loud. Turn it down a little bit. Dang, this is louder than other. I like this music though. I need to go back to the kitchen. I sprint to the stairs. Then suddenly, as I'm skidding to a stop when a wall meets at the end of the hall instead of the staircase. I stare in confusion. Did I go the wrong way? I look around the hall. I don't remember seeing this many doors. A sinking feeling unravels in my gut. I run down a new hallway, then turn into another, and then another. My exploration of the manor was cut short when I first arrived, so maybe I can't remember everything well enough. But I swear, these are not the same halls I walked through before. After I turn to the 15th hallway in this new labyrinth, the sound of something being dragged cuts off my thoughts. I look behind me, fear pulsing in my veins. A ghostly figure slowly walks down the cross-section of another hall. Oh my god. Long hair protrudes from its head, running down to the floor, stiffly like straw, and hiding most of its long, thin limbs. I watch it disappear around the corner, completely frozen in my spot. Another ghost. I've never seen one this corrupted before. I now feel extremely vulnerable, like a beacon standing in the long and open corridor. A tapping noise is next. My heart pounds violently in my chest as I search for the sound. I immediately see another ghost headed straight for me. I yelp and crush myself against the wall, as if it'll make me invisible. Ooh. The ghost staggers towards me with bony knees knocking together. A thin veil curtains its upper body, and something that resembles a bird's beak peeks out of its chest. The closer it gets, the better I'm able to make out the detail of its leathery skin and the beady, bloodshot eyes that dapple across its face above the rotting beak. Needle-thin arms bend sharply at the elbow and reach back behind the ghost's head. It balances on its elbows and pulls itself forward on them. I make myself paper thin and shiver when part of its elbow brushes against one of my paws. I start breathing again when it passes quietly, then back away into an intersection of hallways. Another ghost almost tramples me. Ah! I would have just stayed with Dove. What? Two ghosts follow one another down the path of the bird-like ghosts. One is a cluster of what looks like fungi and twisting fabric that melts into bumpy flesh. A stringy network of mycelium trails behind it. The other creates a sound of glass crunching together with every step it takes. Steady step it takes. Its arms stick out like pieces of wood that lightly swing as it walks. Where its face should be is a void, framed by jagged, broken pieces of porcelain skin. I can make out the raggedy made form that clings to its bloated form. I follow the ghosts in a trance. Like a line of school children, they walk along a well-known path. Normally, when a ghost is corrupted from being trapped in the land of the living, every semblance of their humanity is lost. So where do these ghosts stalk to with so much purpose? They navigate the hallways without hesitation, twisting and turning through a route already well-known, well-worn. Then, so painfully easy, I have been led back into the kitchen. I see Dove standing on the kitchen table, delicately twisting an incandescent bulb into the hanging light fixture. Dried black tears stain her cheeks, but her expression betrays no sign of dejection. Another bulb is held loosely in her other hand. This one has been burned out so badly that no light can penetrate its ashy blackened surface. It took 40 years to develop this kind of filament. The ghosts surround her. I watch them reach for her, and I open my jaws to bark out a warning, but I choke on my rising panic. Dove doesn't notice them and continues to screw in the bulb. I read that these bulbs can stay lit for up to 1,200 hours. Claws brush against her skirt, and yet after less than a week, their legacy of lighting the dark has been snubbed out forever. With one last turn of her wrist, light envelops the room. Something so wonderful. Love stares into the bulb's light, and her fingers caress the glass. Only breaks in a place like this. The ghosts have vanished. Dove gives no hint of awareness for the presence that had just left them. My blood thuds in my ears. Could she not see them? I look at the door that I had used to enter the mansion. I hear Dove dust off her hands and toss the old bulb in a box, where it shatters amongst other pieces of glass. She sighs wearily. How long will this cycle continue for? I barely hear her words. Instead, I stare at the wall where the back door should be, and there is no door. I immediately freak out. I run to the wall, ignoring the ache in my arm, and scratch at old wallpaper, hoping the door was only hidden behind it. My claws tear through wood, but as I continue scratching, the outline of a door does not reveal itself. I back away, staring at the shredded decoration and breathing rapidly. It's not there anymore. I turn my head and see Dev sitting on the kitchen table, swinging her legs. She stares at the wall and torn up, and gives me a blank expression. I explode. My body ignites with a fiery rage as I growl and snarl at her. Just make that menacing sounding. Menacing sounding? I don't know what I'm saying anymore. I'm going insane. She frowns and her eyes turn downcast with guilt. I don't know how to get it back. I give up. I whimper and go back to scratch at the door, more in desperation. I'm sorry. Enough. I'm tired of seeing you wallow in your despair. I reply with an indigent huff. I see Dove puff up her cheeks in annoyance. I turned my head away and rested on my paws. There's no way out. It's better for you to just accept it. A growl rumbles in my throat. Even the front door is gone, so instead of wasting time, you may as well follow me and keep yourself occupied. I wish I could cry. My ears lay flat against my skull. I've landed myself right in the mouth of a carnivorous flower, with a sweetness of shelter to lure me in. As I never considered whether it would let me go once I treaded past its sharp teeth. I take a peek at Dove. She doesn't seem to have any problem with being a caged bird. Is she so comfortable living in these conditions that she can't even see how wrong it is? How can anyone possibly live like this? Her patience reaches its end, and she slides off the kitchen table. I cry out when she hauls me off the ground, and I bare my fangs at her when her face appears right before mine. My glare doesn't faze her. Follow, Wolf. There is much to do. We return to the labyrinth of hallways. Dove seems to know her way around them well. Now that I'm not frantically running through them, I notice how much different the atmosphere of the manor is. Less dirt coats the floor, ceiling lights illuminate the hallways, and it almost feels peaceful. Dove stops by a closet in the hallway. She grabs onto the handles of the doors, and it opens to reveal shelves and cupboards. Is it cupboards? Or cupboards? Cupboards. The miscellaneous tools and supplies. She climbs the stool to reach the highest shelf and retrieves a box with small buckets and brushes. The stool she stands on starts to sway, and I tense. She climbs back down without issue, then leads me into a room I recognize. She makes her way to the broken side table I'd spotted when I was first exploring the rooms of the mansion, and I take the time to look around. A dining table with only 3 chairs takes up most of the room. Candles spike up from the top like stalagmites. There's so much that I think they would render a fire hazard if they were all to be lit. Hardened wax drips over the edge. I can see the end of a fountain pen, as well as scraps of paper. I'm unable to see a well of ink from my position, but I assume that's what runs down the dusty tablecloth in dark splotches. A glint catches my attention. On the other side of the room, I'm unsettled by mirrors that cover the wall from floor to ceiling. I swallow a lump that forms in my throat, and I do not let my eyes linger on them. I lay on the floor and watch her slather strongly scented glue on the broken legs of the table. She roughly connects the broken leg to the rest of the table and fans it with her hand so it dries faster. She tests its sturdiness with a light finger, then scrunches her nose when it wobbles. She twists around and digs in her box, then pulls out a roll of twine with a bright expression on her face. My brows furrow together. Dove twirls the string around the leg and binds it tightly. When she's done, she sets the table straight again. But it still rocks unsteadily, but it stays standing. That seems to be good enough for Dove, because she picks up her box again and gives it a nod. Oh! I leave her my spot on the floor and spin to a loud noise. In the corner of a room, the long-haired ghost from earlier stands bent over a broken vase. I flinch when Dove lets out a startled noise and starts to stride towards it. I bark in alarm. It's dangerous! She ignores me. Siri. I grab the back of her gown with my teeth to stop her. Dove's demeanor goes from angry to taken aback. She stops and looks down at me. I shock myself with my own actions and quickly drop her skirt. Dove considers me for a moment, then switches her attention back to the ghost and marches over to him. You klutz. My jaw drops. I don't need another person to clean up after. The ghost slices its long fingers together and bows its head. When Dove gets closer to it, she stumbles and cries out. The ghost snaps its head back up to her. Dove's cheeks... Oh, Dove's... Dove's checks the bottom of her foot and sees a shard embedded in the flesh. Red blooms from the small wound. The ghost makes a groaning sound and steps forward. Dove... Why am I reading like that? She hisses when it walks through the mesh of glass and drags it with them. It's concerned for her? I observe their interaction, befuddled. Everything I know about corrupted ghosts is being challenged. I pause to think about how Ghost rushed to her side earlier. The ghost tugs on Dove's sleeves, like it's asking for forgiveness. She continues to badger it while digging the shard out of her foot. I study them curiously. It wasn't because they wanted to cause her harm. I trail behind Dove. She leaves to treat the small cut. And when she returns to clean up the mess, we leave the ghost and Dove continues down whatever to-do list she has in her mind. While she paints over the scratches on the kitchen door, trying to match the old wallpaper, she speaks to me. Have you met all of them already? She doesn't speak again until we run into another ghost. It waits in the hallway for Dove. She perks up when she sees what it's holding. Oh, thank you, Babel. She takes a small bundle of red roses from it, freshly torn from its bush. I follow her to a window and see a tall, thin glass vase with withered roses in it sitting on its sill. Dove takes out the dead flowers and replaces them. Then she pauses and looks down at something below. Her face reveals nothing as she tears her gaze away and makes her way down the hall again. Before following her, I stand on my haunches and try to peer out the window. A chill comes down when I look down and see a small patch of graves, each marked by a small wooden cross. I break away from the unnerving sight and turn towards the hall where Dove had gone down. She stands at the end of the hall waiting for me. The bird-like ghost's name is Grill, and the doll-like ghost's name is Odette. Dove introduces them officially when we run into them as we go around the manor doing mundane tasks. It's a sight I can't get used to. I can't understand how a young girl can act so normal around such monstrous beings. Seeing their translucent leathery skin, or the fluid that drips from their decaying flesh is enough to send me reeling. But she does not flinch or fear. Earlier, when they had surrounded her in the kitchen, she could tell they were there, weaving their arms together to wrap her in a ghostly embrace, and she didn't care in the slightest. I start to think she's more disturbing than the ghosts. To become this corrupted, they would have had to stay trapped in this place for a long time. Why are they still here? The horrific forms border on pitiful. To be this far gone. It has to be some type of hell. Dove walks amongst them, like they're her family, though. No, that's not quite it. I reconsider my thoughts. Maybe the image of the graves flashes in my mind. It's because she is theirs. Alright guys, well, I'm gonna go ahead and end that right there because after a while I start messing up my words and then my throat hurts and well, nothing comes out as I want it to and my eyes are getting jumbled and fumbled up, so that's it for now with Dicentra part 2. Part 3 will be out soon enough. I have no idea how long this is, but it's fun to read. Although, it'd probably be better for me to read in my head. But, yeah. That's Dicentra. Check it out for yourselves. I really like the art style. I like the wording of things. And, yeah. I can't wait to see what's in store for us. Because I have no idea what's going on. But, we'll see. In the next one. Peace out, guys. Hope y'all are doing great.